Yeah.
Next up, we got.
I'm
Uh,
so fat.
what? Wait, was that a line in the movie?
No, I just look and feel fat today.
Joe. Joe, shouldn't the next segment be like make Joe feel a little better?
No,
Segment.
our next segment is Detective Pikachu
But
because I
we.
fear fear, and I know others fear fear, but I don't fear fear.
Woo! That's a fucking line. Um, Joe, we love you, by the way, so don't feel bad. But okay, let's talk about Detective Pikachu, a movie that we all watched. Um,
Oh, but like separately, at
yes.
least
Well,
me.
I watched it with Bradley.
Yeah, and I've
As
watched it twice.
You watched it twice?
I watched it twice. I watched it once with Willer and then again the weekend after.
Oh, that's right. I don't remember if you told us if you liked it less or more or the
he
same.
said the same.
It was about the same.
Okay.
Okay.
It didn't really get much better.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say for this movie, like
Oh, I got
out
some
of
things to say.
personal things to say. So I'm just gonna say my points real quick, and it's one. If you're a big Pokemon fan slash nerd like myself, you actually run into the chance of liking this movie a little bit less than your average viewer.
Really?
I feel like you do. Because I become an asshole where I'm like, Ninja can't be hit by psychic moves. He's dark
Oh, yeah.
type, Ugh! And then like, just
True.
dumb shit like, I don't know, just you run into like little things like that, or like these giant torteras are in the world. If they've walked, like they would just destroy all of civilization.
But I,
they-
I, I actually really like that.
oh, that's the best scene in the movie. It's
They
just
looked so cool.
the implications of it. But overall, I thought the plot wasn't that interesting. The main human character is just okay. He's an okay actor. The girl is a really weird actress. I feel like they told her to be like a mysterious film noir kind of like detective lady, and she didn't really quite get it. Or the directing was just bad.
Yeah.
The main problem I have with this movie is the core of the movie is Detective Pikachu, and about 80% of the things he said I didn't like. So when the whole draw of your movie kind of annoys me most of the time. Also, I guess the plot, like second zero, I turn to Brad and I'm like, oh, by the way, uh, spoiler. And then Bradley laughed at me, and then midway through the movie, he's like, oh. Um, yeah, so I had a lot of time watching the Pokemon in the wild. I'd give the movie a solid. I'll give it a optimistic 3 out of 5 because just I loved watching the Pokemon and I want more of these movies. Even though this is a 3 of 5, if they're all 3 out of 5s, I still want more. I want
Yeah.
more kinds of stories told in this world. Also, I didn't like how the city was a no battle city. Okay,
I
that's
was
all.
exactly the same way. I rate it 3 out of 5, and that's mostly it's mostly at that score just because I just love looking at Pokemon. They're just so fun. If I was like removed from the Pokemon aspect and I'm just looking at the story, it would probably be like 1 or 1.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
It's not a great story, but if you just love looking at Pokemon, you'll probably have fun watching it.
And boy, do I like looking at Pokemon.
I love looking at Pokemon.
Every time there'd be a new one, I would instinctively, like without thinking, turn to Bradley and be like, "Oh, there's Purloin," or "Oh, there's."
You know what? Second time around, saw some Pokemon I didn't see the first time, like
Yo.
Togepi, who looked awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Togepi's in the cage match area.
Yeah.
There was also some, which was weird. There's also some like Togepi decor on like the buildings. Also have some Pokemon style names and decors they only pick up if you're really paying attention.
I think I give it a 2.75 out of 5.
Coward
mainly-
score.
Coward score. Fine, it's a 2.
Damn. Well, give it a 2.5.
Yeah, but but I also feel like I also kind of maybe enjoyed it more than y'all, but at the same time I
Wait.
kind of like I know it's weird, but
Yeah.
like
Well, I guess it's an objective score versus an enjoyment.
objectively
And
I
like
give
a
it
mix
like a
of it.
2, but like in terms of like I enjoyed that I think I enjoyed it more than y'all. I feel like a lot of this movie, like its problems come in its editing and its storyboard and its pacing. Because I feel like there were scenes that gave information like, well, it's more interesting if you do things in like a different order, if you do present them in a different kind of way. That there are some action scenes that could have had a lot more interaction between like Detective Pikachu and the human component. Uh, the girl actress was
We don't,
absolute
we don't even call him a
trash.
boy. We just call him a component, which is
Yeah.
telling.
But like, but there were some like interesting things that I really enjoyed too. Like I liked, um, and that's it.
Wait, did you
No,
intentionally take a pause there?
no, so really, there were some clever moments in the film, um, but I also just kind of felt like, well, like this is kind of uninspired or very kind of choppy and weird, or you're not really selling me on like a mystery kind of thing. I think the biggest thing for me that made me want to bash my head against the wall the entire time was they their first instinct was not to go back to like the original crime scene. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's where
And
you started a detective story.
yeah, and like I'm just like, why aren't you starting here? Like you don't like it's okay if they get there and they don't know that other like place is down the road because it's supposed to be like a secret location. So it's okay if they get there and they're like, why are they here? Blah blah blah, blah and why this happened, and that adds the mystery to it. And then you kind of there was no parts that it as a detective film, this is a terrible detective film because there's
Yeah.
no moment when they're piecing things together to like figure out what happened. It's only revealed at the end. And you're just like, oh,
And he got kind of lucky because he goes in the office and it's revealed to him then. And Detective Pikachu finds out. I forgot how he found out, but it was also bullshit. I think was given a vision.
yeah, that Pokemon gave him a vision. You're like, oh, okay.
That's a engaging mystery story here.
Yeah.
I really liked when Pikachu sang that thing and everyone in the audience cheered, and I was like, ugh.
I don't think I was there for that.
He sang a thing, and me and Bradley looked at each other, we're like, ugh.
Yeah.
This ain't it,
What-
Chief.
I don't remember the thing.
That's when I mean it's like the more of a Pokemon fan you are, the more likely you are to be annoyed. One thing I really liked is I was really worried this was going to be really Gen 1 focused.
Yeah.
And while it was Gen 1 leaning, it also had so many nice deep picks. Like Loudred was a big part of this movie. And
Dude,
like,
they were sweet.
They were awesome.
they-
I was really glad that they picked Pokemon from like pretty much every gen.
Yeah, that was one
Pangoro
thing I
got
really
like
liked is that you could see moments where the Pokemon actually like were part of the society in some way. Like the Loudred, when you see them, they're like making beatboxes and making the sounds with their mouth. Like they're the music system in this cage match area. It's awesome.
the Torterras and the Greninjas. They were the best scene in the movie.
My hope
Yeah.
is that people who pretty much only played Gen 1 and 2 might like walk out of the movie and go like, "Oh man, that panda Pokemon was really cool. I kind of want to use him in a game. Maybe I'll go
And
play one of the new games."
Panda mom that was upset about her kids running around everywhere.
Yeah. A lot of fletchlings in the movie, like just a lot of good picks. But
There were
I-
like 30 different of the purple cat things with the steel type with the claws. You know what I'm talking about?
Sneasel?
I think so, yeah. Like that one, like for
they're
sure. I
not
saw,
steel
like,
type, you doofus. They're dark ice. Yeah, there were some good Sneasels in there.
there was a bunch of them. Like there's the scene at the end where something happens and everyone stands back up.
Yes.
There's like 12 of them on screen.
I'm so
like-
happy they used Bouffalon instead of Tauros. Like, it would have been
Yeah.
such an easy pick to go for Tauros, but they're like, you know what? Let's represent a little bit.
Yeah.
And the Pokemon Company was involved with this film, so you can see that they really tried for it. At one point, Pikachu is like, this Pokemon isn't known to do this, and he uses it to, like, solve a mystery. I forgot what exactly it was, but, like, he says something where it's like Pikachu knows Pokemon lore, and they're using it to solve the mystery. It's like, oh, this is nice. They kind of know what they're talking about.
Yeah, like and I think I wanted more of that, where like
Yeah.
where like the Pikachu really knew about like Pokemon, or one of them was like really Pokemon expert. like in terms of its lore, like that really should have been the dynamic, because that's kind of introduced where like the kid really wanted to be a Pokemon trainer when he grew up, but he decided not to because he's a baby. Um, so and it'd been really cool if like Pikachu was like, he knew all like the lore uh the lore things about the Pokemon, and then he knew about like the battle mechanics of the Pokemon. So you have this yin and yang of like Pokemon games. This, I don't know, man.
There was one
But,
point where he's like, "Hey, Volt Tackle would knock me out." I was like, "Hey, that's accurate. I
Yeah.
like that."
like,
Um,
yeah,
I thought all the action scenes were actually pretty lame.
we were very, very lame.
They're so safe. Nothing. They were like Pokemon, the bad Pokemon anime episodes, that kind of battling.
Yeah. I was so disappointed in a cage match kind of thing.
It was
Like,
not great.
that was so much potential for you to like have, like, in terms of them learning to work together, and you're just like, nah, we're just gonna.
The fact that this movie takes place in a city where battles can't I hope next movie is a little more battle focused. That's all.
Yeah, like one of my favorite parts of the movie was like the first 5 minutes where we're in the countryside and you see Pokemon running around in the wild and they go to catch one. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. You get to like see Pokemon and they're catching one. And then
Delightful.
we don't really get to see that the rest of the movie.
Deliberately, they are in a region with no wild Pokemon, and me and Bradley walked out, and we were kind of like, I kind of wanted to see Pokemon in the wild. Like, I wanted to see a giraffe egg eating out of like a tree or something.
Mhm.
One thing I will say, and this is kind of another topic, the second time I watched the movie, the first time I watched the movie, I was just like, oh my god, Pokemon. Second time I watched the movie, I was kind of thinking more about the story and stuff. And I think the thing that I like the least is, so our movie has a few side characters. Obviously, we spend the most of the time focusing on our main guy and Detective Pikachu because they're who the story is about. But we have a few side characters. We have the girl, I don't know if you'd call her sidekick. We kind of have the detective that worked with Harry, the boy's dad. And then we have like the main villain, obviously. So we have a few side characters, but what's weird to me is that I think they want you to care about these characters more than you possibly can for the amount of time they're in the movie.
Yeah.
Because the detective shows up in exactly 2 scenes.
Mhm.
Main villain shows up 3 times in the movie. Even the girl shows up like briefly at the beginning. She kind of has a longer section in the middle, and then she's also around at the end.
No, she disappeared at the end because she's part of that whole.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like she ran off, and then I guess like the last time you see her, and this is I wouldn't even really call this a spoiler. It's not going to ruin anything. She's like, "Oh, I did it. I'm finally like a fully fledged reporter." And it's clear they want you to care, but I don't know how anyone really could because we just don't really see her that much.
I gave like a forceful yay, just 'cause of- yeah, good for her.
So I don't know.
Fear
like,
is fear, and
obviously,
I don't want
the story-
fear.
The story's about our main 2 dudes, so I guess we don't want to detract from that and spend too much time on the side characters.
But you shouldn't like. You shouldn't have any kind of want to make emotional payoffs for those side characters.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I think Phoenix Wright does this the best, where there are parts where you do investigations, and there are some characters that carry over to the next game, and you talk to them, and they talk about like, oh, I got the reporting job, or now I'm a forensic scientist. Like,
God, that's the best. That one in particular, that made me very happy.
But like the thing is like, because and really you never spend more than one case with characters other than the prosecutors and the detectives in that game. But like seeing these faces show up again as like other kind of characters later down the line is a lot more fulfilling than having them immediately paid off in the same span.
It's a bunch of it's a bunch of like small cameos, not cameos, but small roles that build up to a character arc that you don't spend much time in, but you're emotionally invested. This is like a small role where she gets her full character arc and development within the
like
the
you
bounds of the movie.
want that character to like have a really hard mark when you first good impression when you meet them, and then when you meet them again later and you see there's some progression, you're like, oh, I'm glad they got somewhere, or that it feels like they're an actual character or a living character in that universe, even if we don't see what actually that is.
Another thing I wanted to say is that there's a certain office in this movie that has some statues. That shit was rad.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to say
that whole office looked kind of awesome, and they also had like identifiable Pokemon items, like they look exactly like the sprite would look in your inventory, which I thought was very cool.
The last thing I want to say before I want to transition into ending statements. The credits of this movie were better than the movie, and it's not. Again, I like the movie. It had its problems. I want more of these movies. But
the credits were so good looking.
Those credits
I
blew
had
me
the
away.
when it exploded. I couldn't sit through all of them, but they were cool.
They were everything I wanted. Like those hit me because it's like, okay, we're using the sprites from the original game, but then we're also doing this Ken Sugimoto style artwork.
And then it kind of like goes into a hybrid of that and like Spider-Verse looking kind of shit.
Yeah,
and I just thought it was so cool.
You get to see the characters in the artwork that you see in the Pokemon mangas and like the old artworks and art pieces. That was so cool. Worth watching for the credits.
Honestly,
out of 10.
Yeah, I'd still call it 3 out of 5. If you like Pokemon, you'll probably enjoy watching it just because it's fucking Pokemon. But I mean, it's not amazing. I do want more movies.
Yes, Licky Tongue looks terrible.
I I give it 2 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I also want more movies, but I also think this movie was just poorly excited in terms of its plot.
Can't wait for the next one. Can't wait for
Detective Dunsparce.
Postman Pokemon story where it's like a postman and he has a Growlithe.
Can we get just a Pokemon Snap movie? Can we do that?
Yeah, fuck it.
And you know what? The first Pokemon movie had that Postman Dragonite.
Shit.
Yeah, that'd be a thing.
Well, all right. No Dragonites in this movie.
No Dragonites.
No, that's
0 out of 10.
No dragon types in this movie.
That's not true. I'm sure there's...
Was there a dragon type?
You know what was weird? There was one Gen 7 Pokemon. It was Morlul.
I know. We were the whole time. We were like, "Where's the Gen 7 at?" And
I thought that was interesting. Yes. That was a really deep pick. But you know what? I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for Detective Pikachu.
Never talk